Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to the Untold Journeys podcast series with me, Nyaboth Pascal Alfred. Podcast series brought to you by the All Africa Conference of Churches, the liaison office to the African Union. Today, our guest is the formidable, retired but not tired bishop. That's Bishop Enock Tombe of South Sudan, whose journey and legacy dates way back to the Sudan civil wars, to the comprehensive peace agreement, which led to the birth of a nation, South Sudan, and also to the different series of peace agreements, which is of South Sudan, the current peace agreements of 2015 and 2018 respectively. But before we continue, click on the YouTube channel, the AACC YouTube channel, and subscribe to it to stay updated of all the notifications of new episodes that will be dropping in every month to come. Bishop Enock, we are so honored to have you today. How are you doing, Bishop?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for this great opportunity to speak to your audience.
Great. We are so honored to have you. And today we are going to speak basically about your journey, what you've been doing in South Sudan and within the region, especially when peace is concerned. What does peace mean to you? And why did you choose the aspect of peace?
Well, I think, I don't think I chose it, but because I was elected to head the Sudan Council of Churches in Khartoum during wartime, the mandate of the church, of course, is peacemaking. So I had to do what was part of my mission in the Council of Churches. So if you like, probably it was God's calling for me to be at the Council of Churches at that time and to play the role of peace building.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you look back into your journey in peace work that you've been doing, we understand that you were this first Secretary General of General Secretary of the Sudan Council of Churches. Just take us through your entire journey. How did the whole idea of becoming the General Secretary of Sudan Council of Churches, and what were the needs at that point?
Well, by 1994, the Council of Churches was in crisis. My predecessor, Reverend Izil Kujok, was facing a lot of administrative problems. The partners have withdrawn funding, and they threatened that if they don't change the leadership, they would not continue funding. And our people need all the support needed. For example, the relief assistance to those who are displaced because of the war. There were about 4 million South Sudanese in the north. And so the church is called for emergency general assembly. And so I was elected in order to reform the administrative system of the council. But at the same time, to work for peace, because the IGAD has initiated the peace process in 1994, but there was not much being done. Even my predecessor, they initiated what they call Sudan Ecumenical Forum Geneva in 1994. And that's where we stopped. So to play the role of peace, one had to put the house in order, so to speak, clean the house of AACC so that we have the credibility to speak with authority of the church. So that's what happened. I found myself leading the council at a time of war.
Great. And now, if you look at, like you say, it's been from 1994. If you look at that tenure of when you've been the General Secretary, that was the time when the Sudan conflict, the Sudan conflict was almost at its peak, and the comprehensive peace agreement idea was just being birthed at the moment. What are some of the memorable role of church institutions, especially the Sudan Council of Churches here, the one that you've been leading, and its structure during the conflict up to the time of the CPA? What were some of the most memorable contributions that you've seen and you're so proud of at that moment?
Well, one of the things I can remember very well is our Sudan Ecumenical Forum meeting in Oslo in 1996, where we were brought together as the Sudan Council of Churches, and the new Sudan Council of Churches was based in Nairobi under my brother, Dr. Harun from Sudan in Chile Church. So for the first time we met in Oslo, and it was felt that we should have a position paper so that we speak with one voice wherever we are under SPLA control areas or Sudan government control areas, and also our partners to use the document for their advocacy work. So it was in Oslo that we developed that paper entitled "Here We Stand for Peace in Sudan." Later on, it was amended in Switzerland in the following year, 1997, into what they call "Here We Stand United in Action for Peace in Sudan." So that was what I remembered. But the challenge was how to distribute that paper for us in Khartoum, to the government in Khartoum, and then for for the NSCC to distribute it to the movement leaders. So when we went back to Khartoum, we had to fix appointment with Omar Bashir, the president of the Sudan then. And I was anxious what was going to happen. Anyway, he welcomed us in the Ministry of Cabinet Affairs, and we were 7. We had a chairman who was fortunate from the Coptic Orthodox Church of Egyptian background. So the Copts are very close to the Arabs than us South Sudanese. So when we appeared in the office, Bashir welcomed us warmly, and our chairman handed the paper to him, and Bashir said, "Well, you are most welcome. In fact, if you don't play the role of peace, God will call you into account." In fact, his words are this: that our hands are on fire. We need somebody to take it from fire to the water. And if you don't play that role, God will call you into account. So we were really happy that he could welcome us and even encourage us, give us the green light to continue with the peace process. That is one thing which I remember very well.
It's very interesting to speak of that, and especially the fact that when Omar al-Bashir, when he came to power, he pronounced the state, or he pronounced the entire Sudan as a Muslim state. In other words, Christians were not free to practice their religion. And here you are as a joint council, or as Christian leaders, Christian leaders, you came together and put together that statement. What was in the statement that made Omar Bashir, who made the entire country as Muslim state, to surrender and look at the positive aspect of it? What was? It's very interesting to know what was inside the statement. Here we stand.
Yeah, we were actually calling for dialogue instead of military confrontation. We said whatever problems are there, let the warring parties sit down, negotiate, and resolve the conflict peacefully, because this is our nation. There will no need to kill each other. So that was the opposite to the military confrontation. And of course, he recognized that as a Muslim also, he's claiming leading the country in Islamic state, which is best religious state in the Islamic context. So that would put him on a fix, because here are religious people calling for dialogue. And as a Muslim, definitely he has to see the benefit of dialogue instead of fighting.
To me, it takes me to an aspect that maybe this was a huge test to faith, and the fact that you, together with the delegation that visited him, had to put your faith on test on a larger extent. Do you think his action and your actions led to contributed to the conversation of the comprehensive peace agreement?
Well, I think that was the initial step, but without the other successive steps, for example, our next paper, which will let my people choose, which really supported specifically the right of self-determination, and also on the New Sudan Council Justice side, they had series of peace agreement at grassroots level. You remember the Woonlit 1999 conference between the Dinka and the Nuer neighbors. When the grassroots was now in dialogue they were able to bring pressure from the bottom to the movement on the SPLA control areas. And we in the government control areas, we were also putting pressure from that level together with our partners. I think we were not the only one working for peace, but all those voices combined definitely encourage the warring parties to go for the IGAD peace talks, because we were all getting fed up, we were all suffering, we were displaced, and even the Islamic agenda was not really what they claimed to be. It was just using Islam for their own interests. In other words, it was political Islam. It was not the real Islam which was being used.
Wow, this is a huge campaign. Let my people choose. How were the warring parties reacting to this when you presented the paper, the position paper of Let My People to Choose? What were their reactions, and was it fairly receptive? Were they receptive to the idea? And if not, what was the issue? Or did they even just tell us more? How did that come about, and whether the different warring parties were receptive to the idea?
Actually, we did our homework. There was the Asmara Declaration of 1985 in Asmara. One of the parties, this DUP, Democratic Unionist Party, led by Margani, they signed, if you like, that declaration with the SPLM and some of the parties. The Umma party did not sign. So later on, Umma party went to Chukudum, this Sadiq al-Mahdi, and they also signed. So we were able to collect these bilateral agreements. All of them agreed on the right of self-determination in principle. So we seized that opportunity, and so in London, we developed a paper endorsing that, what they call bilateral agreements between the movement and the different political parties in the North. So if you like, you were echoing, like we are saying, we are voice of the voiceless. What surprised us was actually not the political leaders, but our partners. We were shocked. They say, no. This is politics. We cannot, as a church, we cannot talk about right or self-determination. And we say, well, nobody else speaks about it, but we are the voice of the voiceless. We speak on behalf of the people. Let the people choose. In fact, it was chosen from the book of Exodus in the Bible. Remember when God sent Moses to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. So we paraphrase this to let my people choose. Particularly for me, who was going back to Khartoum. If we just wrote it, let my people go, that means only one option, that is separation. So I said, look, let us paraphrase it. Since we have two options left, let us say, let my people choose. People accuse me that I was changing the Bible. I say, no, it was just being wise. If we just chose one, I'll be in trouble. In other words, I'll remain in exile. So later on, I think people say it was good that the referendum was done and people had to choose freely. So when it comes to the political leaders, I think the SPLM were very happy because that was their position. So when Dr. Jongaren got a copy, I understand in Machakos, he challenged Ali Usman. He said, look, even the church, you can see this, the church has endorsed it. So Ali Usman said, okay, but the church can only talk about this for Christian in South Sudan, but not the Nuba Mountain, not the BA, not so on. So this is where now the agreement was now limited to the South Sudan only, which of course what led to CPA 2005.
Right. And after CPA came the referendum in 2011, and after that immediately the South Sudan was pronounced a state or a nation. Let's talk a little bit about South Sudan and also the contribution of Sudan Council of Churches in the process. And we all know that 2 years after the independence of South Sudan, it again plunged back to war. How did you and the Sudan Council of Churches, which is currently also known as the South Sudan Council of Churches, contributed to all the different series of peace agreements or peace processes that were happening in 2015 and 2018?
After independence on the 9th of July 2011, we were all celebrating. We say, at last, we are now free. Even one bishop, Dr. Isaiah, now issued a book, Free at Last. And I challenge him. I say, are we free indeed? Because we are politically free, but economically and other aspects were not in place. And therefore, I was not surprised. We were not surprised when about 2 years after independence, we went into crisis. Because, having a nation is one thing, but the structures, the institution of nation building, of, of even state building, were not in place. We have been fighting all throughout, almost 2 centuries from the colonial time, starting with the Turks in 1821, followed by the Ansar. And then, of course, it was the Turks, the Ansar, and then the Belgians from Congo, and then the British. And then, of course, our brothers from the north. That is about 191 years. So now we got the chance now to build our own state, sovereign state. It need time. Even up to now, we don't have the structures. So we were happy. The church said, now at last we are free to worship. We can do whatever we want. There's no restriction. But the church forgot that actually we need to build the state again. And so we were surprised. Anyway, the South Sudan Council of Churches, we separated from AACC, which was in July 2013. The last assembly also was held in Nairobi in July 2013, and the old council was dissolved and gave birth to two councils. South Sudan Council of Churches based in Juba, and Sudan Council of Churches continued in Khartoum. So this newly established council issued a statement 2 days after the violence erupted in Juba on the 15th of December 2013, but nobody listened to the church. Church offered mediation. Remember, we had experience at Addis Ababa, peace agreement, the first one in 1972. We thought we could do the same, but our political leaders, even though they are Christians, they ignored the church voice. It was only when IGAD then came in the following year, then the talks started in Addis Ababa, February 2014. This is where we then decided to follow them on our own. We were not invited. We just, a delegation of 11 people was selected. I was selected to represent the Archbishop Daniel Dengbul of Episcopal Church of South Sudan. And the Sudan Council of Churches, South Sudan Council of Churches got funding from the Regional Church Aid with an office in Nairobi, and we were able to travel on their own cost. Even the IGAD was surprised, saying, who invited you? We say, we don't need your invitation. We are peacemakers, Our mandate is when there is conflict, we just go where there is conflict. You don't need invitation. So they say, okay, but what you are not allowed to come to the forum. We say, no problem. We will just be lobbying outside, the delegates of the government and the IO and the former detainees. Those were initially the three groups. Later on, of course, they expanded to four. The other political parties, which came on. So eventually, there was a symposium in June 2014. But before that, the principal leaders, Dr. Riek Machar and President Salva Kiir, agreed that now we can include the other parties. So that symposium now allowed the rest of the civil society, even the South Sudan Islamic Council, to join us. We were 11, then we had to give 3 places to the South Sudan Islamic Council. So the churches were now represented by 8 people, and then South Sudan Islamic Council was 3. And I was then appointed by the delegation to become the leader of that delegation, which is called faith-based delegation. I was very honored because of my age, also experience, so I was very happy that I could lead that delegation until the agreement was signed in August 2015, what they call Agreement Resolution of Conflict in South Sudan, 2015.
Yes. Thank you for that. And 2 years, a year after that, just immediately after the agreement on the resolution of conflict in South Sudan, there was another revitalized agreement of the same agreement that was signed. And this was because there was a conflict that erupted in 2016. And again, I'm sure, given the different histories of conflicts within Sudan and then South Sudan, with all the comprehensive peace agreement, different negotiation and mediation processes that have been happening and conflict resolution strategies that have been used, I'm sure everything has been exhausted or might have been exhausted. How did the church institutions, including yourself, who have been very instrumental in this process, took part again in 2016 with a revitalized agreement?
Well, the IGAD leaders eventually appointed a special envoy called Dr. Ismail Wise from Djibouti this time to consult with all the stakeholders who signed the peace agreement and others. In fact, the neighboring countries, Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia. It took about 6 months from June 2017 to December 2017, where they called us for a meeting in Addis Ababa, where the parties were encouraged to sign what they call cessation of hostilities agreement, actually ceasefire agreement. And therefore they agreed on the process of revitalizing the same agreement. That's when then it continued 2018. Uh, we used to go as before. I was leading the first best delegation to Addis Ababa. But by May, clearly the parties got stuck. There were about 10 issues they could not resolve. For example, the unification of the forces. The other was the system of government. We're talking about federal system, but what type and so on. So when the leaders now found that could not push ahead, understood President Omar Bashir offered to host the talks because he claimed that he knew the South Sudan leaders better than the other IGAD heads of state. So the talks were now transferred to Khartoum in June 2018, and it did not take long for Bashir to hammer out a bilateral agreement actually for resumption of the oil production and export through Port Sudan, through the pipeline built by the Chinese. So that sort of like encouraged the parties to continue to discuss the referendum process in Khartoum, July, and then August, and then September. They finished the discussion, and then the signing was transferred to Addis Ababa. We actually traveled from Khartoum on the 1st of September. The following day, 2nd of September, the representatives agreement was signed. So that is where the process ended.
Mm-hmm. Bishop, I would want us now to focus a little bit on you as a peace advocate and for your entire time that you've been working as a peace advocate. What are some of your personal and individual achievements that you're extremely proud of in your entire years of peace work? We understand you're retired, but definitely not tired. I've seen you working in so many other things that are going on right now within the country and within the region, and it's so good to see. Actually, it's very, very good to see. But we want to know also what are some of your achievements for all these years that we've been working as a peace advocate within South Sudan, even before South Sudan was a country, and also until now within the region of Horn of Africa.
Well, my background, as you probably must have heard, actually, I start as a civil engineer. Actually, I'm a construction engineer with master's degree. So this issue of peace building and so on, this is not within my initial educational background. Then when people hear that I'm engineer, then how come you become a pastor and now even bishop? So I had to explain, that I chose to stay inside and I want to serve my people. So whatever they need me to do, I just do it. So even including learning new things like peace building. So I was fortunate that I could be delegated the job, and I just learned on the process. So what I've done, I've added peace building in my tools kit. Apart from management of organizations in my toolkit, and then even learning about politics. I'm not a politician. I'm not a member of any political party, but I'm conscious politically. In other words, I can understand when politicians talk. Although some of them say that I should have joined them, I say no. I'm not going to join any politics. I will continue to serve. There is in the Bible or in the church there is something called prophetic ministry. Actually, when religious leaders like me play peace building, is the role of the prophets. You have to speak truth to power. Tell them that this is right, this is wrong, and I feel I have that authority to speak from the Bible. I want people to follow the truth because Jesus said, "If you know the truth will set you free." And I think it's the problem we have in South Sudan. We have been telling lies through our politics, and that's why we are always going round and round. Sign agreement, we don't implement it. We are just copying Khartoum. Abel issued a book called Too Many Agreement Dishonored. We are also dishonored the agreement because we are, as Christians, we're supposed to be truthful. We should do what we preach. We want justice, isn't it? That's why we separated from the Sudan. Why is justice now? We should do it. Why should we mistreat each other? There can be no peace without justice. So I'm very happy that I can still speak uh, to those in authority. Most of them actually became my friends because in Addis Ababa, for those who were detained, they were very close to us. So I asked them, look, when you are now out of power, you are very friendly and you look normal. But when you get power, you don't behave the same way you behave towards us. He said, well, when they are in the power, they have to toe the political line, you know. The politicians are controlled by their political party and then by the government. So they have no freedom. We then say, okay, if you can't speak freely, why don't you resign? Then, of course, this is where the issue of personal interest come in. Now, for me, I work without any salary, I have no problem. If they kick me out, I have nothing to lose. It's all in my face, right? If they give me assignment, I do it, even for free. So I don't have that constraint like they do. But overall, I'm very happy to serve my people wherever they ask me to do. I became their servant since I joined the Council of Churches up to now, even after retirement. In fact, people still come to my house for advice. Oh, please, Bishop, help us. And I like that because then when I serve, then I feel fulfilled, you know, even at personal level.
There's a common say that says that once an elder, you're always an elder. And being an elder comes with a lot of wisdom and with a lot of responsibility. So do not be surprised when your doors are being knocked literally every day. And the country and the entire region definitely is very honored to have your noble self work with a very noble cause within the region. Another thing I'm curious to know, and when we're curious to ask you, is what do you think you should have done differently to get better results within your entire career in peace work and in peace journey, in all that you've done and all that you've told us today?
Actually, if I had a chance to study again, I thought I should have studied political science because this is the subject where you can study about politics, how people behave. I know my colleagues. I mean, not colleagues, but people like Dr. James O'Cook. You know, when he make analysis, you know, what is going on in politics, and these academic people, they really make analysis. The trouble is that they are following some theories, which when you apply it to our context, South Sudan, it doesn't seem to work. For example, recently we faced him, Dr. James O'Cook. We said, can you comment on our economic system in South Sudan? He said, we have no economic system. We're just floating. You know? So we say now, this is serious. I mean, we have oil, we have all this, and we are still very poor. People are dying of preventable diseases like typhoid, malaria, and so on. So what does it take to make an economy system to work? Why are we still poor? You know, we have separated from the north, which are depriving us about our resources. We have all our cows, we have the fish, we have the water, we have the land, yet we are the poorest nation on earth. Of course, there is corruption there. So I would have wished to study what do you call political science instead of engineering, you know, because engineering is just okay, you are at the tail of the society. You just fix bridges, make houses, and let the own people destroy it. So it's useless. So now, having come to theology, we want to fix the human being himself. This is my second best option, to fix the human being through the word of God. Then we can put the bridges, we can do the economy, we can do the rest of the thing. In other words, the value system need to be put right, whether from a Christian perspective or Islamic perspective or from African traditional perspective. If we don't have values, moral values, no matter whatever PhDs we have in this country, we'll never fix it. Even the generals we have, they'll just be destroying the society. So I'm here to remind us that please let us go back to our roots. The African people are very rich in respect for public property, for sharing with the needy and taking care of those who are weak, like the elders, the women, the children, and even the strangers. We have always welcomed people to our houses, regardless of where they come from. So my job now is to remind these leaders, as an elder as well, that the young people must really do what our people used to do in the past.
Wow, that's powerful. If today you woke up and you happen to be a regional body like IGAD or East African Community or even the African Union, what would you do different that you feel like they're not doing today?
Actually, we should build the capacity, the management capacity of these leaders. You know, somebody had been in the bush for like in our case 21 years. He knows how to command the army, all right? But now you put him in charge, he become the governor or the commissioner or the director general. What does he know? If I were in charge, I would put all these people to compulsory management training because this is a new assignment. It's just like me going from engineering to peace building. I have to learn new ways of doing it. When you ask them, oh, you're not qualified, say, what do you mean? I have the Kalashnikov for all these 21 years. Do you think I'm not qualified? That is shooting, qualification of shooting. But in terms of managing an office, that's a different issue. So we should be humble to learn.
Oh wow, that's very powerful, Bishop Enock. Let's come back to a little bit of the legacy. This is the last question of the day. For this discussion, what should you? I have actually two questions. What should you, as retired Bishop Enock Tombe, be remembered for when one day you're no longer with us? One day, I said. And God forbid, I'm not saying you're going anytime soon, but we don't know. But we would want to know what would you want to be remembered for, and also the legacy of institutions like the church, faith institutions. What do you think they should be remembered for?
Well, actually, I've been struggling. I wanted to be a successful father because the test of any leader in the Bible is how you manage your family before you manage the nation or any other unit of the country. And so I wanted to be remembered as a good father. God has blessed us with 3 children. 2 of them graduated from the university. I'm struggling with the last one. So that is the test of leadership for any one of us. If Jesus said, if you can be trusted in small things, if you are faithful in small things, you can be trusted with the big ones. So these leaders, if we were to test them at their family level, I think all of them probably will fail. Because some of them have their street children, children on the street, yet they are the heads of state or they are managing the different aspects of the state. Secondly, in terms of the institutions, I really wanted the church to carry on with the discipleship. You know, when the missionaries came and planted the church in South Sudan or in the Sudan, they did not have the chance to teach the faith. We are supposed to be 60% Christians in this nation, yet we are on each other's throat. And Obasanjo, who was the chairman of the Commission of Inquiry sent by the African Union, he came and they asked us. I was in that meeting. He said, how many Christians are in this country? One of us volunteered 90%. Say, oh, no, if you are Christian, why are you killing each other? You know, unlike when we were fighting the Muslims in the north and the Arabs. So it exposed us. We on the surface we are Christian, but in reality we are not. So what I would like to be remembered for is that I want to call people to discipleship. Jesus said this in the Great Commission in Matthew 28, 19 to 20. Go and make disciples of all nations. Baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teach them what I have told you, and I'll be with you at the end of the church. That teaching element, the church needs to take it seriously. And I will continue to call this until the day I join the rest of my people.
Great. Thank you so much, Bishop Enock. We truly, truly appreciate your wisdom, your experience that you've shared with us, and everything that you've done for your country, for the region, and for the entire continent It's a small contributions that we do in our different communities that contribute to the bigger picture of a better society. And you've done so well so far for all these decades that you've been very active in service. Even when you've retired from as a bishop in your institution, you still remain to be very active. So you're not tired yet. We're still holding on to your wisdom. Thank you so much, viewers, and we truly appreciate your patience with us. Thank you for joining. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, AACC YouTube channel. Thank you so much. You have a blessed day.